Hey, good afternoon to you. Mark Sutt of HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion for Wednesday, June the 5th, 2019. I hope the mid part of your week is going well. I spent the morning up in Surf City with my second grade son and his class from the elementary school that he goes to, and they were participating with the turtle release program that they have. They have this turtle hospital, sea turtle hospital, up on Topsail Island, and they let these rehabilitated turtles go. It's a big fanfare, a big deal, and a lot of people turned out to cheer those turtles on as they embark on their journey back to the sea. And it's interesting because I got to also see Surf City in the wake of Hurricane Florence, and it's interesting how chewed away the front row of structures are. Some of them have some structural damage still. Some of them have already been repaired with decks and walkways and whatnot. But the dune system is in really bad shape, virtually non-existent. A lot of brand new sand fences, things like that. Very, very vulnerable for sure up there in Pender and probably too up into Onslow County as well, along that very vulnerable stretch of Barrier Island. You know, Florence just a Category 1, just. Hey, if you watch the documentary that I've put out, you'll see what a Category 1 can do. And just imagine, and that's the point of the documentary, what a Category 4 or 5 would do, and we saw that, of course, with Michael. So I'm back in the office. It is early afternoon, about 2:15 Eastern Time as I put this together. Let's take a look at the National Hurricane Center starting point here. We'll go over to the Central Pacific. Nothing brewing there. Nothing brewing in the Eastern Pacific and the Atlantic Basin, nice and quiet as well. We can look at the satellite imagery here, and look, there it is, all that moisture that was associated with 91L now streaming up, going to be caught up into this upper level system, and mid-latitude energy wringing out that moisture. Houston is buried in here somewhere. Fairly heavy rain, some flooding concerns there, not terribly bad right now. And I was noticing on the radar, looking at radar scope recently, there's not a lot of lightning with those thunderstorms, and that's good. It shows me that the atmosphere is not particularly unstable. Some of these systems that we've had that dumped historic rainfall, the Memorial Day 2015 event, the Tax Day flood, and then even with those bands associated with the remnants of Harvey, tremendous amount of lightning. And then just a few weeks ago, noticing the lack of lightning at least shows me that the atmosphere isn't quite as pumped in terms of the energy and the instability that creates those pretty violent thunderstorms. Look at this down here. This is really neat. Look at that cloud formation right there, and then look at that one right there. I'll take the telestration away. What an amazing world we live in to get that kind of definition, to see such amazing cloud structures over Florida, the striations of the sea breeze pushing in here. That is so cool. Wow, just an amazing time to be alive and to study meteorology, the weather as a whole. Just if you're a weather enthusiast all the way up to a professional research grade PhD meteorologist. I'm just a geographer. It's just neat, put it that way. I say I'm just a geographer. Look what I've done with it over 25 years. Not bad. So if you're thinking about a career, you can do geography, study weather and climate, and how that affects people, places, and things, and start your own business like I did. And part of that is focusing on the impacts. I'm really focused on that. The impacts of the weather that I talk about. That's what it comes down to. And you can see over the next several days from the WPC quantitative precipitation forecast here, QPF, all of this area through here from the Central Gulf Coast, I-10 corridor, up into the southern Appalachians there. A lot of rainfall coming. Again, this is kind of your ensemble, conglomeration of everything, so to speak. And the total precipitable water in the atmosphere gets taken into account, and boom, you get this map that's a good guidance as to what will happen. Once again, to make the point clear, you're not necessarily going to have this bullseye here in western North Carolina of 10 to 15 inches of rain. If we zoom in on that, you can see what I'm talking about. this is just a good guidance. But I tell you what, if you had that kind of bullseye sitting in there, and that does equate to that gold color about 10 inches, go on this side to 15 maybe, that yellow color through there, that looks like about that color there. Yikes. So wet times. Now, I will say this. Seeing this kind of precipitation pattern, as bad as the rain can be, we could have some flooding. Bring me back on for a minute. Remember, if you've watched these videos, especially in the off season, how I was talking about the forest area in the wake of Hurricane Michael. That is down here. I'll draw on it as I stay on the screen. All this area through here, roughly, really, really devastated. A lot of that forest area, the pine trees snapped off, even some of your hardwoods damaged and laid over, but really that pine forest decimated in a lot of that region. And if you dry it out, you obviously have this tremendous fuel load for fires. And we've had some wildfires throughout a part of Florida down here, off and on. I've been reading about that on social media, as well as our own HurricaneTrack Insider chat that we have. Different people, some of our members live down there, and they've been talking about it. Fires going across I-95, etc., with all the smoke. And so when I see this kind of a rainfall forecast, you lament the fact that, a lot of rain's coming, and it could be problematic for travel, and the exacerbation of the flood issues that are going on in the Mississippi and Arkansas River valleys and so forth. But I look at this and say, hey, at least in this area up through here, we're going to rain on that forest and keep it moist a little bit, and so some of that new growth can start to come in. It needs every chance it can get, put it that way. So this is not all bad news when you see a QPF forecast like that. So also remember, the Weather Prediction Center, separate from the Storm Prediction Center, the Weather Prediction Center is up here, I believe, in Silver Spring, Maryland, or somewhere like that, whereas the SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, over here in the Norman, Oklahoma area, somewhere in central Oklahoma. And the Weather Prediction Center handles these excessive rainfall events. And here's day one with the focus of the high risk. I mean, that's a big deal over, the southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana coastline, the moderate to slight risk area, a larger geographic region than that. Very, very heavy rainfall, high tropical moisture content in the atmosphere. We call that precipitable water, and it's a problem. So a lot of rainfall down there, off and on. Luckily, though, like I said, it doesn't, at the moment, appear to be on the extreme side just yet. You know how that can change. So I'll urge you to, again, pay attention to your local, sources of good information in the Harris County area. That would, of course, be Jeff Lindner and the Harris County Flood Control District, as well as the local media in that area. Southwest Louisiana, you have Rob Perillo and the National Weather Service out of Lake Charles, etc. Rob Perillo at KATC, I believe is his station. Really just wanting to push that you get to know these people that you can depend on. They know their stuff. They are not clowns on television. And, sometimes you get that, but these people are solid, and they can really help cut through the noise, and they post really good, helpful information on social media. All right, so that's the Weather Prediction Center for excessive rainfall. What about severe weather? That should start to calm down overall as we move through the month of June. But this is what it looks like for today in my neck of the woods, just west of me, the Carolinas up into the Tidewater, and back north and east, west of there. Basically southeast Virginia, most of the Carolinas in a slight risk. One little isolated area of slight risk over here in parts of the Texas Panhandle and extreme southeast New Mexico. Larger area of slight risk with an enhanced risk inside of that. And what does this all mean? Well, the atmosphere has a lot of moisture that has been pulled up out of the Gulf. Gulf of Mexico is warm, and for the most part it's running above the long-term average. It's warmer than it should be. And we have this general area of high pressure sitting offshore, big high pressure over the Atlantic, and that's pumping in this southerly flow coming around the backside of that high. And you have these low pressure areas, these disturbances that make their way to the south and east and eventually across the country. And that taps into some of this moisture and this energy to get this boundary through here. and boom, you get these showers and thunderstorms, some of them with very heavy rainfall and the possibility of severe weather. All right? Can't paint it any clearer than that for you. So just be aware, be on the lookout for it. This is today. Here's tomorrow. If it'll load, and the threat really back over Texas again. Parts of, look at that. That's kind of unusual. Northern Utah, Salt Lake City, up through southeast Idaho, northwest corner of Wyoming, and Montana. I better know all these, being a geographer. And, my daughter was asking me the other day about the different capitals and the countries of South America. And I think I got about 9 out of 10 of them right. It was pretty good, maybe 80%. Pop quiz, Dad. So anyway, yeah, be on the lookout for that. In an area, again, you know what? I tell you, it'd be nice to go up there and see this. Can you imagine up there in Big Sky country and having supercells develop? Just big thunderheads? That must be magnificent. Even Idaho, wow. One day, when we get that Patreon support up to higher than it is now, and I'm going to talk about that at the end real quick, but it's coming. We're going to be able to do stuff like this. There's going to be a time where, and I'll just segue real quick, a little side, where I'm going to be able to look at something like this and say, you know what, I'm jumping on a plane tomorrow, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to show you what that looks like. And it's not going to be storm chasing, per se. There's nothing wrong with that, but we're going to do it differently. Immerse you in the entire process. And that's what we do with hurricanes, and I look forward to doing that with other weather events. And boy, I see something like this, and I think, man, wouldn't it be nice to fly into, wherever, Boise, rent a car, and go see what's happening. All right, so that's a look at day 2. Here's day 3, and it's really the upper Midwest there, almost up into Canada. In fact, I bet it does spill on into Canada, but the United States doesn't do the forecasting for that area. So there you go. That's a look at the severe weather. Overall, the threat for the violent tornadoes and what we see generally in the month of May starting to diminish and migrate generally northward with time, eventually into the southern prairies of Canada. And we will look for the tropics to get busy as high pressure sets up over the Atlantic, and the fronts don't get to make it down as far anymore, and we get truly into summer. It's coming. Cue Olaf with the summer song from Frozen. If you have kids, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, sorry to bother you. All right, so the GFS over the next 10 days at the 5,000 foot level of the atmosphere. This is the initial map, and I'm looking for clues. Playing detective here. What do we see? Well, we can see the outline of this ridging of high pressure. These are kind of like contour lines of the atmosphere. We call them height lines. And the atmosphere has a thickness to it. And the ridge of high pressure is thickest here over the central Atlantic. There's Bermuda. And it extends pretty good mid-level ridging all the way back to the west. You can clearly see that here with these height lines. All right, and this is the lower part of the atmosphere anyway, 5,000 feet or so. And then you can see these wind barbs that come around, the clockwise flow, bringing that deep tropical moisture straight from south to north over Texas and beyond, and that'll be the battleground that we already talked about. All right, so let's put this into motion and see what we see. I'll stop it real quick here at the 48-hour mark. All right, so there's 47, there's 48 hours. So still have this ridging sitting out here over the Atlantic, but it retreats and weakens just a little bit, gets eroded. Now, look at this. This is counterclockwise. This is an upper level feature in the atmosphere over the United States, over the lower 48, and that's generally going to move in this direction over time and bring us fairly stormy conditions as we get into the weekend. This is Friday at around 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and you see that pinwheeling effect of that system, rather slow moving. We've now gone out to about 72, 74 hours, and it's still sitting there over the Mississippi Valley. And that means that's cold air in the atmosphere. That's instability. That's what that shows me. There's more to it than that, but that's what it shows me. And so big time rains as this pumps the moisture into that system right here. Notice too that so far, 74 hours out, we are not seeing any concentrated areas of vorticity or any of these blobs like that or this down in the tropics, so nothing to worry about development just yet. All right, so move on out into time to 96 hours. Still the upper level system stuck over Mississippi. Keep on going. 120 hours out into time, right there, roughly 123. Kind of carves out a little bit of a cutoff. It is a cutoff low. There's the trough with it. And the ridging is kind of meh, right? Little height line action there. Yeah, maybe some outline of it over here. But this is the dominant feature here. Kind of cool, kind of wet. And that's going to lead to some flooding, no doubt about it. Again, though, I'll point out the benefits to the rain falling on that devastated forest area in the wake of Michael. Hey, try to find the silver lining in this if you can. Now we go out to 100, and it starts to change when you get past, what is it, day, when does it change? What we call the truncation. There's first, let's put this back into motion. Maybe it's after 168 hours. Let's see, there's 24, 36, 48. It starts going every 3 hours is what I'm trying to say here. There's 96 hours coming up. Look at that pinwheeling of that system across the lower Mississippi Valley. Nope, it does it after day 5. Then we go to every 3 hours. My apologies. So here's that troughiness. It opens back up into a trough. All that green in there shows me energy. Energy in the atmosphere. And so it's going to be rather stormy. And guess what? This is Tuesday, Monday night into Tuesday. I'm going to be heading down here over to Tallahassee. So I'm going to probably have some stormy weather to drive through. We got a big event coming up in Tallahassee that I'll talk about. So let's keep on going through these every 3 hours. This is 168 hours out right there. So a week from today, looks kind of stormy down here across the southeast and into the Panhandle. Hopefully not too stormy because we're going to be showing a film, a documentary at the Regal Cinemas there in Tallahassee. I'll talk about that in a few minutes in more detail. Notice, too, this ridge starts to get back into action here by a week out, strengthening. You can see the outline of it right there, and pushing a little bit more west as well. Take the telestration away, and I want to show you this. Okay, this is 168 hours out. Now watch what happens as we go through that time frame. Watch this little piece of energy right here. Okay? Keep your eye on that guy right there. Watch what happens. Okay, there's 170, 180. Look at that. It comes up. There we are right there. All that energy coming out of the Yucatan. We are out about 195 hours, a little bit more than 9 days away. And, it's by the 13th. This is Thursday the 13th in the afternoon, a week from tomorrow. Something to watch. That's all we'll say at this point. Yes, it tries to consolidate and get on up into the southeast there. This is what, 240 hours out? That's 10 days. Interesting, though, that the genesis of it, if we back up, seems to start at around a week's time right there in the Gulf of Honduras, east of Belize there. All right, so we'll watch and see. Not much to worry about. Let's see if it stays around in the modeling. If any other models pick it up, this is the operational, the GFS. It's one run, 12Z run, whatever. It's got my attention. That's 10 days out that it makes landfall, whatever it is. And it could be nothing. It might not even happen. But we will watch for it. Let's see if it's there tomorrow. All right? All right, let's get rid of that for a moment. I will talk about some other things real quick. Tyler Stanfield, I talked about him yesterday from OU. And he does a hurricane forecast, and I wanted to point that out real quick. Seasonal forecast from Tyler, including Andrea, 17 total named storms, 9 hurricanes. That's pretty robust, right? 4 major hurricanes forming, and an ace of 151 units. Points, if you will, that the hurricanes would score. Just like a basketball team is expected to score whatever. Maybe their season average is 85 points. And they're getting ready to play a weaker team, so they're probably going to score 120 points tonight. Maybe that'll be the Raptors, who knows. And they're not playing a weaker team, that's for sure. But that's what that means. It's just units or points in this measure. It's energy expended. And you can read about this. Follow Tyler on Twitter, and you can go in and read this incredible outline that he's done here. Heck, it's not an outline, it's a full-on paper. University of Oklahoma. It's interesting because it says OU, but whatever. University of Oklahoma. Michael there is the title picture. And it gives you all of his reasoning behind this, and it's very thorough. All right, so hats off to him. And if you want to read some stuff that's really fascinating, this is it. And this is the part that really has my attention, is that African easterly jet and the Sahel region being so anomalously wetter than it should be. And that African easterly jet, pretty strong there, pretty invigorated, coming out into the Atlantic Basin and later on in the season, if the sea surface temperatures do not cool out here because of the seasonal changes in the pressure pattern, we could be looking at quite a busy season, and that is, of course, why he is thinking 17, 9, and 4. At least part of the reason. So check that out. Tyler Stanfield, University of Oklahoma. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, I am so happy to announce that finally, in fact, I got to refresh this page. This is available on Amazon Prime Video or on YouTube via PayPal. I wanted to make it available on 2 different platforms. I'm not going to do Vimeo because I think it's going to do well enough on Amazon, and everybody knows what Amazon is, and everybody knows what YouTube is, that I'm not going to mess with Vimeo. So if you're a diehard Vimeo person and I'm letting you down, my apologies. First of all, Vimeo charges you $240 or something like that just to set up the account. Amazon, even though they keep half of the earnings, they're still providing a global platform, and it's free. I don't have to pay anything as a content provider for what it's worth. So it's on Amazon and on PayPal, YouTube through PayPal. You go down here, you click Buy Now, and there it is. What does it look like on Amazon? It's so cool to see this. I am extremely proud of this, as you can imagine. I already have 3 ratings. I'm sure we'll have more. And people are emailing me who have purchased it or rented it. It's available for purchase or rent. It's not going to be free. I can't work for free, and this will help to fund future work. And, you know, I do deserve to earn a living doing this, and I think this is a great film. And, you know, I used to say, oh, I'm biased. I'm not biased. It is a great film. I think it's great. I've watched it objectively a few times, obviously, trying to put it together. And it is something else, especially that Mexico Beach sequence where it ties everything together. Bring me back on for a second. I call it the best wait for it movie of the summer. You know how that expression, wait for it? This cut that's on Amazon and through YouTube is the director's cut. It's 2 hours and 1 minute, and it includes Alberto, Lane, Gordon, and a look back at some other things that sort of develop the backstory 14 years leading into what was an eventual mega success deploying our equipment in Hurricane Michael. But the juxtaposition, the contrast between Florence, the Category 1, right? Oh, it's just a Category 1, and Category 5 Michael is astounding. And when you put those together for the ending 2/3 of the film, oh, it's just an amazing piece of work. And I did the music for it with my keyboards over here. I'm actually going to do a featurette, 2 or 3 of them going into some background on the movie. You see these done for feature films all the time, these featurettes. And I'm going to talk about how I did the music. I'm going to talk about some other things as I promote the movie over the next several months. So look for that on YouTube. Coming up soon, as they say. So, yep, it's available. Amazon Prime Video. Unbelievable. I'm so happy it's there. And, you know, support it. Share it with, you know, the link with people. Let's get this thing to go viral because it could really significantly help with the funding of my work, honestly. It's not about me getting rich and, oh, he's a millionaire film producer. Yeah, I wish. But I just want to be able to do this and do it better than ever before. And between that and this with Patreon, I think we might really have something that'll sustain us for a few years to come. You know, things change. You know how everything's cyclical. You never know what's going to be the hottest thing. But for now, I really like this Patreon. Picked up a new patron today. and I appreciate that. It's fantastic. And here again, I'm going to mention this more and more. I like the fact that I can get up in the morning, take a look at things, and post these like mini blogs, if you will, right here on Patreon, and I can make these public. So if you go to patreon.com/HurricaneTrack, you can see this, blog type post that I can do. The patrons all get a notification. So if you're a $1 patron or more, you get notified if you're in the app or your email or whatever. But it is available to the public. I still want to do stuff for the public. Of course I do. But I got to figure out how to fund this, and this is a great way to do so. Then I can do these videos like the one I'm doing right now, and I post those on Patreon and our HurricaneTrack Insider site, our subscription-based site that we've had around since 2005, first. And then about 15 minutes later, I change the video to public, and anybody can see it. So, for $1 all the way up to $25 to $100 a month, whatever you can afford, and I'll say it one more time, and, that's not true. I'm going to say it a lot more times, but I'm going to say it again. I would be content if, a few thousand of our YouTube subscribers, our Twitter followers, if our social media crowd, if everybody just chipped in $1, are you kidding me? I would have a full-time staff. I love the Weather Channel. I grew up with it. But I could definitely, with that kind of revenue coming in, we could have something, we'll just say, that would compete with the big boys on a totally different level. Not that they're doing anything wrong. I'm just saying this is a world where we can do things on the internet that traditional television cannot. And we're getting there thanks to you guys. So keep it coming. And you'll be part of something that eventually grows into what I refer to as the Netflix of weather. And I don't say that lightly. Netflix was built with an idea, and it was DVD sent in the mail, right? And now they have whatever it is, more than 8, 10, 12 million subscribers. We'll never have that many patrons. My goodness, I'd be one of the wealthiest people in the world if that happened. But we're trying to build it. And when we do, and it's, I don't want to say complete, but once we get to that goal of having several thousand supporters at just a couple of dollars a month, that's what I want. You haven't seen anything yet. If you think what we've done up till now, I might be the face of it, but we got a whole bunch of people behind us that are helping. Just imagine where we'll go with adequate funding, and you have a big part in that. All right? I sound like public radio, don't I? But this is very much like public radio. We serve the public, and for free for the most part, 90% of what we do, and a small percentage of people help to make it possible. And to them, I thank you, and you should thank them as well. All right, I'm done for today. I've talked enough. You've heard enough from me. Go on Amazon Prime or use PayPal and order that video, the documentary Tracking the Hurricanes 2018. You won't regret it. If you have headphones like these suckers here, studio headphones, put them on and listen to it in all its glory. It's absolutely incredible. Oh, and real quick before I sign off, I almost forgot. Yes, next Wednesday in Tallahassee at the Regal Cinemas. There's only one. It's at Governor's Square, the Regal Stadium 12, 7 p.m. next Wednesday, June 12th. We will be screening this Tracking the Hurricanes on the big screen, just like I did in Wilmington last week on May 30th. We're doing again in Tallahassee next week. I'll talk more about it. There's no tickets. It doesn't cost anything. You just show up, and the first 105 people that come out will get in. We'll have about 30 reserve seats that we have for VIP folks, so there's about 70 seats left already. People already interested. So check that out. If you have any questions, email me right there. I'll highlight it for you, and then I'll sign off for the day. hermark@gmail.com. I'm Mark Sutta. Thanks for tuning in from your side of the screen. I do appreciate your time and attention. We'll talk some more tomorrow.